This is week 1, day 1. Database and SQL. Talk a little bit about beginning of the course, relational databases. Didn't do much yet on information technology. Started in the course as a resource. We're going to talk more about this in a minute, but I started out talking about data being raw facts and things that can make up data. It can be text, be numbers, images, video, wave files, sound files, different things that represent data. And what we do in this course, we talk about how do we manage all this information. And then we also talked about typing data. What type of data do we have? Text, numbers, those are going to be the primary two that we talk about in database work. So our goal is to take information, our data, raw facts, process it into information, something that has value for us. Okay? And so this is a little repeat here, but primarily I'm going to talk about text and numbers. Numbers could be integers, and there's different sizes of integers. Could be a decimal. We could store a date, typically represented as some kind of number. We can talk about text. We could indicate the size. How many characters is that text going to represent? All these ideas can be put into a relational database. We're going to use MySQL. It's an open source relational database. So in this diagram, I started out here. I said we can have a relational database. Somewhere on a hard drive, we're going to store the table. We can logically, have a logical view that the data exists in tables, and then between the tables, we form some type of relationships. More of that later on. This can all be stored on a server. We, in our example, we use a Linux box to store it. We use MySQL to access, put in data in and get data out. We can use some type on the client end. We can have some type of a type of a app. We can have a browser with a user interface, user experience. That would be the front end. And then on the back end, we can use PHP to access the data from the database. We learn how to use MySQL from the command line interface. PHP can use those commands to access the data from the database and make it into some form of information, either reading from your app or your browser. We don't get this far until right at the end of the course. So this diagram, though, gives you a good look. MySQL stores it down here. You can have PHP on the server that can manage your command line interfaces, and PHP can be accessed from a browser or an app. What we're going to do, from the terminal, we're going to write the SQL commands in order to create and manipulate and query this information in the database. we gave an example. Here's a person, they need a ride. Here's an Uber driver. They both use an app into the cloud. The cloud can keep track of all this in a relational database management system. What drivers, and use GPS to figure out where they are. And you can keep track of credit cards and all that information. And so this person here they can see this car, and they can order the car, and the car comes and gets them a ride. These can be distributed all around the world using some type of cloud service. For example, maybe AWS, Amazon cloud services, or Azure, or IBM, or iCloud, so forth. Google, they all supply those services. This database, I think, if it's Uber, I think they use MySQL. Or one of those open source databases. Then the last thing we did, we logged in the work server 1. This IP, this password, if I had to reset it, some of them still had their password from last term. Then, from the prop, we get MySQL -u DB class 2019 -p. Then it asked for a password, and then we got into MySQL. And then down below here, we have some MySQL statements. We did show databases. That's a semicolon. Then we said use school. And one of the tables inside school was United States, so we were able to look at that. We said describe US, and it showed us the field names for the table. These were a couple field names, and so we did a select name year from United States. There's another semicolon. And then it gave us a list of all the states and what year they became a state. All right. That is it for today.